What's going on, everybody? It's Voodoo 51292, and welcome to another one of my honest and thorough game reviews. And tonight we're going to be taking a look at a game that was actually the first major release I played in the year 2012. It is a sequel to a game that got some pretty good reviews. Nothing spectacular, but some pretty good reviews when it came out. And the game that's going to be under the microscope tonight is going to be The Darkness 2. And The Darkness 2 is actually, well, it's a sequel to the game The Darkness. And the Darkness series of games is based on a very popular comic book series called The Darkness. I don't exactly know the years that the comic books ran. I believe it was in the 90s, but I'm not positive about that. But The Darkness 2, well, the Darkness series, but we're talking mainly about The Darkness 2, focuses on the main character of Jackie Estacado, who is basically an Italian mobster who is either possessed or has the ability, has these demonic abilities. He's basically, I don't know exactly the right word, infected, possessed, or whatever you want to say, by this demonic force called the Darkness. And it actually gives him the ability to basically have these two demonic serpent arms or heads or whatever you want to say coming out of him, and gives him all sorts of powers, like he can regenerate himself and become super, not necessarily super powerful, but the darkness can be used as a weapon. That is a pretty powerful weapon. So The Darkness 2 picks up where The Darkness 1 left off. Basically, in the first Darkness, Jackie had to watch his girlfriend be murdered. She was kidnapped and killed. And in The Darkness 2, obviously, he's really affected by this, and it's really messing him up, and so forth. But in The Darkness 2, he's basically been able to repress the darkness for a while. They don't really specify how long he's kind of kept the darkness under control, but he hasn't let it out, he hasn't used it, and he's kind of suppressing the demon. But the demon, the darkness, has been trying to convince him to let him out again and to use his power, but Jackie, to this point, when the game begins, has done a good job of keeping it under control. Well, I won't obviously give too much of the plot away, but I need to set it up for the game. There is a hit done on him and his mob at a restaurant by these people. They have no idea who they are, but they hit the restaurant and are trying to kill everybody and kill Jackie, and they don't know what's going on. Well, in the heat of all this battle, Jackie actually decides to let the darkness out. His leg gets all messed up and he can't walk. So he lets the darkness out, and basically, that's where the game kind of picks up and the plot gets going. And throughout the course of the game, obviously, you're trying to figure out who did the hit on you, what's going on, and you find out that actually there's a secret organization involved intent on getting the darkness, and you have to fight against them, resist against them. Also, you want to get revenge on them for the hit that they did, and they do some other messed up things in the game to personally affect Jackie. And so the game is really based around him trying to about a couple struggles. His inner struggle with the darkness, who keeps trying to influence him and and use its power through him. He's also dealing with the enemies in the game. And the plot of the game is actually really interesting, and there's a lot of little things that work throughout the plot. Not just the main plot, but Jackie, is also, to some extent, seemingly losing his mind. He keeps seeing his girlfriend everywhere he goes, who's obviously been dead, but he sees her at different places, and the game actually sets up a pretty interesting mystery of basically Jackie's mind seems to be split between two different realities. He seems to be, in one aspect, he's obviously in the realm of the game and the darkness and his crime family and all this other stuff. But at times he'll go into another realm where he is basically in a mental institution, and all of the people, his crime family and all that, are workers at the hospital, and some of the people he's associated with are patients in the hospital. And throughout the whole game, it kind of plants the seed in your mind, like, what is the real reality here? Is the darkness actually influencing Jackie and making him imagine this hospital scene, or is the hospital the reality of it, and he's actually just crazy, and all this darkness, this whole darkness universe is something that he made up in his own head because he's psycho. And the whole game, you're kind of wondering that, and you know, it's pretty interesting. And then at the end of the game, there's actually two different endings. You have to make a pretty pivotal choice at the end of the game to continue. And one of the endings actually ends the game right there. Another one of the endings actually furthers the game, and you have to play another level and really get the true ending of the game. So overall, a pretty interesting plot. There's a lot of emotions going on with the plot of this game, and you really kind of get connected to some of the characters, and you know, kind of understand more of how a mob family maybe works, and why people join these mobs. And you can tell how close, how tight-knit these families are, how much they care about each other, the lengths that they're willing to go to save each other. And the game really does bring out a lot of good emotions, good character development, and I enjoyed the plot a lot of The Darkness too. I thought it was pretty good, you know, for what it was. So the gameplay of The Darkness 2. Alright, the gameplay, it is an FPS game, I guess you would say, but it's not really anything like your typical FPS, because you have a million different weapons and ways to play it. You obviously have the first-person shooter aspect, where you can have guns and you can shoot them, aim down sights like an FPS. You can dual-wield guns as well. But where the real, you know, uniqueness of this game shines is using the darkness abilities as weapons. And there's all sorts of things you can do with them. You can use them to simply do simple slash attacks. You can go up to an enemy and melee them and do slash attacks with the darkness. You can use the darkness to go and grab weapons that are far away from you. You can use them, go grab a weapon, put it in your hand, and you can start firing. You can dual wield guns, and you can use the darkness to go grab, say, a car door and put it in front of you as a shield while you're dual wielding, shooting through the window of the car door, and you have like a shield there. You can do executions with the darkness. If you stun an enemy, you can grab the enemy with the darkness and do like a execution move where there's a variety of them, and I believe there's 4 different execution types. There's one that gives you more ammo, one that gives you more health. It's been a little while since I played, so you're going to have to forgive me if I can't remember all 4. There's one that boosts up some abilities that you have that actually have cooldown times, and I forget what the other one does. Oh, the other one I think generates a shield of the darkness energy. And so you can do that. There's an ability that you have to buy to start the game called Eat Hearts, where if you kill an enemy, you can use the darkness to eat their heart, and you actually gain health from that. Because it's not a regenerating health, it's actually a health meter that you need to get health power-ups to fill up, and that's the way you do it. Either by doing the health executions or by eating hearts. And the darkness can actually be used in one of those abilities, like I talked about with the cooldown. You can actually channel the darkness through your guns that makes them like super powerful, and you have infinite ammo, so you can just sit there and, you know, and go to town for a short amount of time with this ability. So that's pretty cool. There's another ability, I forget what it is, like I said, but it does have some cooldown time. And it is a game where you will earn XP, per se. It's called Essence in this game, but it's basically experience points, and when you earn them by getting kills, by doing special kills, getting headshots, things of that nature, you'll earn essence. And you can use this essence at certain spots in the game. You'll run across like basically shops where you can use the essence to buy upgraded abilities for the darkness powers. And there's all sorts of abilities, there's all sorts of ability branches that you can go off of to power up the darkness. And so the whole time, you're playing and you want to get these kills, you want to get your XP going so that you can buy more abilities and really upgrade your character. So that's pretty interesting and neat, and that's basically the gameplay of it. Now I do need to put some emphasis on the graphics because they're different than what you're used to seeing. All right, the graphics are done in a cell shading fashion. All right, but they're not to the point where it's cartoony. It does the cell shading very, very well in my opinion. It gives the game a very unique looking environment, a very, you see this graphical style and say, well, that's darkness, like it's a recognizable graphic style. And why it's done in my opinion is to give it a throwback to where its roots were in comic books. And you can definitely see the origins of the darkness in the comics coming out in this game through the graphical style, and it's very, very well done in my opinion. I've heard some people don't like it. I like it a lot. I think it was done really well. It still maintains that seriousness while giving it that comic book feel, and so I thought it was really cool, really done well. One of the characters I actually forgot to mention as far as the story mode goes is this little creature called your Darkling, and he's there basically for comic relief. He's like a British little creature that basically runs around and makes wisecracks, and if you kill somebody, he'll go piss on the body, and but he can actually be quite useful to you, and you can actually get an ability for the darkness where you can actually pick him up and throw him at an enemy, and he'll go and kill them. He'll actually just help you in combat generally. There are a couple parts of this game where you'll actually play as the Darkling, like you, through the darkness or whatever, it'll take your mind into the Darkling and you play as him, and it's a very different gameplay. You'll run around and try to be kind of stealthy because obviously he doesn't have much life, and if he gets shot he's going to die very quickly. So you'll play kind of stealthily, going through air vents, sneaking up behind enemies and killing them that way, doing stealth kills. So he's kind of a big player in the game as well, and it's pretty cool to have him as a little companion. He's there for comic relief, like I said, and some interesting gameplay involving him, so I thought that was pretty cool. The graphics are good, like I said. The characters are good, the plot development's good, the gameplay is pretty good. But there are some negatives that I do have to say about the campaign of The Darkness 2, alright? First of all is one particular element of the gameplay, which I didn't talk about before because I wanted to address it now. And it's basically a mechanic where if you go into a light, into an area where there's lights or something like that, it will seriously affect and hinder you, because obviously your power is darkness. And so if there's light, you can't use the darkness. But unfortunately, they did something pretty wrong here, I think, and that's that when you go into a light, not only can you not use your darkness abilities, but your character basically goes completely blind, and you can't see a damn thing when you're in the light most of the time. And the problem is that there's a lot of lights. As you go, of course, further in the game, there's going to be lights everywhere, and sometimes you don't know exactly where they are. And obviously when you get into a light, you lose the ability to regain health, obviously, because you need the darkness to eat hearts to do that. You lose the ability to use them as weapons, and apparently you lose your eyesight. And then once that happens, obviously since you go blind, you can't really locate the source of the light to either shoot it out or get out of the radius of this light. And I completely understand, okay, the ability to not use the darkness. Alright, that makes complete sense why you wouldn't be able to use a darkness demon in the light. What I don't understand is why your character goes completely blind. And it's horribly annoying You know, apparently this guy has ultra light sensitivity but here's the thing, Jackie's not the demon. The demon goes through Jackie, but Jackie himself is a human being. Why is it that when you go into the light with the darkness, you can't see and you get blinded? When he doesn't have the darkness out, when he's in his house or whatever, you can walk around in all the lights you want. You can walk around and sunbathe, and he'll be fine. He'll be able to see everything, and it's great. But when the darkness comes out, if he steps into a light, he's completely blinded. And I don't agree with that at all. Because, like I said, it's very frustrating, and when you get into this light and you get blinded, you get completely disoriented, and it's very easy to die that way, because you really don't have a whole ton of life. You're not really a super being in this game. You'll die fairly easily if you're taking a lot of fire. So that part I thought was a good idea, and I understand it as far as not being able to use the darkness mechanic, but your character shouldn't go 100% blind in the light and completely screw you. So that's a problem. I think they should have done that a little bit better. I understand what they were trying to do, but I think that if you hadn't been blinded, it would have been a perfect mechanic and would have made sense. But yeah, you are, so it doesn't really work as well as I think it should have. And then of course the biggest complaint probably with the story mode is the length. The game is only about 6 hours long, and you know, it's understandable in games that have a 6-hour long campaign, but then maybe have a very in-depth multiplayer component like Call of Duty or Battlefield or whatever it is. That makes more sense, but the fact is that the Darkness 2 does not have extensive multiplayer. And so basically, it does have other modes, which I'll talk about, but the 6-hour campaign, it's very good. It's good quality. Like I said, it's very good quality, minus the light mechanic, but it's short. And for me personally, I'd rather play a game for a shorter amount of time and really enjoy it than play a game that's massively long but is not that good, because obviously that's a pain. Why would you want to sit there and play a game for hours and hours on end that isn't a good game and it's frustrating? I'd much rather play a game that was shorter and had good quality. Now, I'd really like to play a game that was long and had good quality, like Skyrim, Fallout, you know, Deus Ex, some of these other games that have a ton of content and are good. But with FPSs, you're not going to really get that long of a campaign. I mean, I think the most you'll get out of an FPS nowadays is probably 8 to 10 hours. So 6 hours is a little on the short end. If the game was 8 hours long, and as good as it was, it'd been really good, of course. Then you always run the risk of stretching the story out too much. I thought the story was told well. I don't think it was drawn out too much, obviously. Maybe it would have been had they made the game longer. I don't know, but 6 hours is a little short, even if the game is as quality as the game was, okay? So, with that being said, that pretty much wraps up the single-player campaign. Now, there are modes called Vendettas, which unfortunately I did not get a chance to play. I wanted to, but some confusion happened with some coordination to do it co-op, because it is co-op. And unfortunately, by the time that these issues worked themselves out or whatever, it was too late for me to actually do the game. I was already moving on to other games. But I have basically heard what the game modes are. It's basically a separate co-op campaign with I believe it's like 3 or 4 different characters that all have darkness abilities, but they're all kind of limited. When you're playing the story mode as Jackie Estacado, you pretty much can do everything. You can heal, you can attack, you can do all this stuff with the darkness. In the co-op campaign, I've heard that each character kind of has their own thing. One player is maybe a healer, while one player is more of an attacker, and you have to work together to do that. So there's a separate co-op campaign. I believe it's probably like an hour and a half to 2 hours long from what I've seen. And then apparently there's some other modes that are like individual missions and things that you can do co-op. And from what I've heard, it's pretty good. It's not, you know, amazing, outstanding co-op gameplay, but it's nice to have. And obviously, anytime you have a 6-hour campaign, it's always nice to add some extra content in there, you know, to boost the value, you know, of the game. And so, obviously, co-op gameplay is usually always pretty good. as long as it's not horrendously broken, which it doesn't seem to be. So even though I didn't necessarily try out the game modes, I can give it a little bit of points for it based on what I've heard, that it's co-op gameplay, it's extra content, and the game's not broken gameplay. Therefore, it's nice to have, okay, as part of the package. So, with all that being said, it's time to give a score for the Darkness 2. And to be honest, I think the Darkness 2 was probably better than all the FPSs I played last year, save maybe Killzone 3, but I think it probably would edge Killzone 3 a little bit head-to-head. Now, it might actually get a lower score from me than I gave Killzone 3, because keep in mind, I've changed my rating system since I reviewed Killzone 3 almost a year ago. I've changed my scoring system, so it may get a slightly lower score, but I still think that the Darkness 2 was a better FPS than almost all of the FPSs last year, maybe all of them, because last year, 2011, was kind of a bad bum year for FPSs. Unless you want to count Deus Ex as, you know, an FPS game, but it's not really. So, I enjoyed it. I thought the Darkness 2 was good. It was a lot better than I was expecting it to be. Good gameplay, a good plot, good storyline, good character development. Really cool, neat graphics that I liked a whole lot. You know, but unfortunately, the light mechanic is very annoying and plays a huge part in the game, so it can actually be quite annoying, you know, toward the end of the game. But other than that, I like the variety in gameplay with using melee with the Darkness, or, you know, another thing I forgot about the Darkness, you can actually pick up things and throw them at enemies. So you can pick up propane tanks and throw them at enemies. You can pick up spears and impale enemies. So I like the ability to do all the different things you can do with the Darkness. You can level them up, or you can play the game like a regular FPS, or combine the gameplays. I like the fact that they did add some additional modes, co-op modes to the game, since the story was only 6 hours long. But still, 6 hours is a detriment when the game costs $60. It should be a little bit longer than that. So, taking all these things into consideration, my final score for the Darkness 2, I'm going to give the Darkness 2 an 8.25 out of 10. I thought it was a good game, a pretty good game. I thought that it really could have excelled and got closer to a 9 or in the 9s again if the game was longer. You know, the light mechanic was fixed a little bit, so it wasn't so super annoying. But overall, like I said, a pretty good game. I think you should definitely check it out if you're a fan of FPSs. I think you're really going to enjoy it, especially since the majority of people probably didn't have an amazing time with the FPS games last year, and being that FPS games are some of my favorite genres of games, it was nice and refreshing to play a game that was actually pretty good for a change as opposed to 2011's. So, 8.25 for the Darkness 2. Good game. I really enjoyed it. And from the ending of the game, the secret ending of the game, it looks like, by the way, you have to stick through the credits to see the real ending of the game. If you chose the right path at the end, it appears there's going to be a Darkness 3, and I hope that there is. By the way, 2K published the Darkness 2. I really think that 2K publishes great games. I think that 2K really knows a good game when they see it, and they publish it. Unfortunately, I apologize, I don't know the developers of the Darkness 2. I forgot to look it up, but 2K published it. They also published games such as Borderlands and Bioshock. Bioshock, my favorite game franchise of all time. And I just think 2K really knows what they're doing when it comes to publishing games. They have a few more games that they're publishing this year that I'll definitely be checking out because I like their stuff, and they seem to have you know, a really good idea of what's a good game to put out there on the market. So bravo to the developers, bravo to 2K for publishing this. I liked it a lot. So be sure to check out my playthrough on my channel, Voodoo 51292, full story mode playthrough, all 6 hours. Check it out. So I'm Voodoo 51292. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it informative. and I will see you in the future for more game reviews. So thank you very much.